Hi everyone, it's Elliot here, back for another video talking about some Criterion titles that you can get on discount right now, if you're watching this at the right time. Here in the UK, some of these Criterion titles that I'm about to talk about are available for 2 for £40, so £20 each if my maths is correct. This is a good deal. Not the best deal though, and I'm going to get a bit into that in a minute. If you're new here though, a lot of what I do is talk about Blu-rays and the Criterion Collection, so if you're into that kind of thing, by all means subscribe, like these videos and comment below, and just get involved in the community that we're building here, because we all talk about these films that we love, and it's a good time. So this sale is going on across a number of different retailers here in the UK, and to be honest, the titles that are available, there isn't a great deal of them. Like I mentioned, these films, they're not the deepest discounts, and in fact some of the retailers here in the UK have bumped up the recommended retail price for these films. I remember when Criterion started doing Blu-ray releases here in the UK, the standard price across the board was £18. Okay, £18 for any film, whether it was standard plastic case or one of the digipacks. That has now completely changed, and their pricing structure has kind of just gone out the window. I don't even get it really, because some of the normal Scanovo cases, they're like £20, sometimes they're £25, and then the digipacks, gosh, I mean, they go from 30, or on Zavvi, they were listing some of these digipacks at recommended retail price of £38. And I think that was just to make it look like you're getting a deeper discount on these. But it's kind of shady. Like, I don't like that. Especially because when you consider that recommended retail price for, I think, all of these titles in the US is $40. And most of the time you can get them for $30 anyway. So it's a bit crazy to kind of say to people that these are worth £38. I mean, obviously the value that you get and the entertainment and the education you get is worth much more than £38. But when you consider what they were once going for and what they're going for elsewhere in the world, it's just a bit crazy. So take that on board when you're choosing some of these films. So firstly, I'll say that I only picked up 2 titles this sale. Reason being is because there were only 3 of them that I didn't have. And of course, if there was another one, I would have picked up 4. But I just decided to go for 2 of them this time. The 2 of them are Show the Bailiff, directed by Kenji Mizoguchi, one of the great masters of Japanese cinema. Sancho, I've seen Sancho once, but I do want to revisit it because it's been quite a number of years now. And there is another Mizoguchi title in this particular sale, which I'm going to talk about in a bit. And that title is a film that I absolutely love, so it's got me excited to revisit this. But this was a good deal. One of the things that I'll point out is most of these titles in this sale, they seem to be ones that are in the digipack packaging. Weirdly enough, here in the UK, these tend to be priced at a much higher price than the normal Scanovo plastic case, which is that's not the norm over in the US. So it's quite strange. I don't know if it's something to do with supply and whether these are harder to make over here. But yeah, all of these titles tend to be either multi-packs of films or in these cardboard digipack packaging styles, basically. But yeah, Sancho, a great film, one I can't wait to visit, so I had to pick it up. The next film that I picked up is one of my favourites of all time. It is On the Waterfront, directed by Elia Kazan. This film, you don't need to know about this film because you already know. Like, this film is incredibly famous. Early performance from Marlon Brando, where he shows off his intense, method style of acting. Because before this time, like before Brando and before Montgomery Clift and James Dean, there wasn't this style of naturalistic, really intense portrayals. And Brando in On the Waterfront is one of the first that really stands out. Obviously the famous quote, I could have been a contender, And, you know, famous imagery as well of like rooftops and the birds. Any film that now has a rooftop scene with birds in cages, I instantly think of this film. Whether that's Wes Anderson's The Royal Tenenbaums, or even John Wick 3 has a scene that's very much like On the Waterfront. So yeah, tremendous film, incredibly influential for so many filmmakers. I did have an old Blu-ray of this, but I've never owned the Criterion. So it's great to pick this up. Again, in the Digipack packaging, but I couldn't pass up on this. Okay, next up, I'm going to get into some of the titles that I picked up previously. These are all recommended by me. So the first one of these is Sex, Lies and Videotape, Steven Soderbergh's directorial debut, which firmly put him on the map as a director to watch. I think this is one of Soderbergh's greatest films. And if you know Steven Soderbergh, he is such a prolific director. He's made so many films. He makes like one a year, I think. Some years he's probably made more than one. This film, though, a great portrayal of how people observe one another and how they get intimate, and just the intricacies of when you've got a triangle of people and how they interact. A great character study. I know a character study is a bit of a crap word, crap phrase. But yeah, Sex, Lies and Videotape, a great film. The only thing that I don't like about this is Criterion, they experimented with some quite weird packaging. I don't know if you can see this, but it comes out of this like plastic case. I don't know why they went with this, because the inside's particularly flimsy as well. I know a lot of people, they bought this and it was damaged inside when they got it. Fortunately, mine's not damaged, but I don't know why they went for this packaging. I'm firmly not a fan of the packaging. Like, look, this slips out. So yeah, be wary of the packaging. But aside from that, a great package with great special features and a great film. So definitely recommended. I mentioned Kenji Mizoguchi before. One of the greatest Japanese directors, like I said. His other film that's in this deal is Ugetsu, or Ugetsu Monogatari. Brilliant film. There's not much that I can say about it that's not been said already, but you've got to see it to believe it. If you're not familiar with Mizoguchi, but you like, you know, the other greats of Japanese cinema, like Kurosawa or Ozu, you need to get acquainted with Mizoguchi because his stuff is so influential. He was a famed favourite of directors like Andrei Tarkovsky. So if you're a fan of Tarkovsky as well, you want to check out one of his favourite directors. And Ugetsu is a great place to start. Again, Digipack packaging, but brilliant special features. And when this came out a few years ago, in 2019, it had a brand new transfer. So compared to some of the older versions of this film, this looks amazing. So well worth checking out. This next film is one of the saddest stories around. And I'm not even talking about the narrative of the film. It's The Magnificent Ambersons, directed by Orson Welles. And if you know the film, you know what I'm talking about. But if not, this had a very troubled history. Famously, it's incomplete. There was an original cut that Orson Welles had made, which is said to be an absolute masterpiece. The studio hated it because they wanted to make money, and they showed it to a test audience that obviously wasn't going to like it anyway. And then they recut it and destroyed the rest of the footage. So a really, just a sad story, because watching this and also knowing what he did with Citizen Kane around the same time, you know that the footage that's lost from this would have made a complete masterpiece. And this film, it's very good on its own, but the only thing is the ending. The ending is obviously tied very neatly together. It leaves a kind of sour taste at the end because you know that what you just watched was only, 80% of what it could have been. Props to Criterion for releasing this on Blu-ray. Great special features on this disc as well about the history of the film, because I've only just touched the surface. Brilliant film, one worth having just as a piece of cinema history. And if you've known any other film by Orson Welles, like Citizen Kane or Touch of Evil, definitely want to check this out. This next film is one that was so hyped up. People were so excited for when this came out, and I think the excitement is still due for this. The film is The Tree of Life, directed by Terrence Malick. Now, people were so excited for this because there are many other Terrence Malick films in the Criterion Collection, and a lot of people consider this his best film. It's not my favourite Terrence Malick film, but I can see why people think it's his most complete and his magnum opus. It feels like when this film came out, he'd been working towards this for so long. If you know Terrence Malick, he made Badlands and Days of Heaven in the 70s, and then he took a 20-year break from film. He didn't make another film until The Thin Red Line came out in the 90s. So God knows, I don't know what he was doing in that time, but he was saving his energy for some of the films that he released from the 90s onwards. This was so anticipated because it features a 50-minute extra extended cut of the film, never before seen. So this is like essential for fans of Terrence Malick and for The Tree of Life. It won the Palme d'Or the year it came out in 2011. You know, that's obviously one of the highest prizes that a film could win. This film, it literally shows the birth of the universe and then everything that happens after it. And it contrasts that by juxtaposing it with this family drama set in the 50s. Incredible filmmaking, beautiful cinematography as well. And if you want a package of this film, this is the one to get. No other one is worth having. So, Tree of Life. Next up, one of my favourite films of all time, surely one of the coolest, most chill-out films ever made. It's Dazed and Confused. If you don't know Dazed and Confused, it follows the last day of high school in the mid-70s, and then what the kids get up to on that last day, preparing for summer. It's like they've been let out wild and they don't have any route to follow. They can just go crazy, do whatever they want, but they have to find some way to fit in. And that follows the main character as he tries to fit in with all these different groups. And it's just a great watch, a funny watch. Early performances from Matthew McConaughey and Ben Affleck as well. Great ensemble cast. One of the great ensemble films as well. Kind of like a Robert Altman film or Paul Thomas Anderson. Linklater made this before he made Before Sunrise, but it was after Slacker. And this has great packaging. Just look at this. If I can get it out. But yeah, you got this inside and then you've got all this stuff. It's all going to fall out now, but you got tons of stuff in here basically. So Dazed and Confused, I totally recommend getting this. These last three titles I'm just going to kind of breeze over because I've not watched them all yet. I'm not overly familiar with all of the films in these sets. And I know that's bad of me because I'm still buying more films even though I've not visited these, but sue me. So the first one is Hedwig and the Angry Inch. Honestly, don't know much about this, but I do like some of the other works I've seen from John Cameron Mitchell. Many people have recommended this to me. I've just not gotten around to it yet. So if you've seen Hedwig, let me know in the comments. And these next two are releases that have multiple films in. I don't quite consider them box sets because they're not in, you know, a big box. They're in the normal cases. The first one I'm talking about is the Samurai Trilogy. I've not got through all of these yet, so I can't talk at length on these. But if you're a fan of samurai films, it's a no-brainer. So well worth the price of admission because you're getting 3 films for the price of 1. And last but not least, The Emigrants and the New Land by Jan Troell. Is it Jan Troell? Not too sure. Again, I've not seen both of these, so I mean, I can't speak too much about them. They're very long films, very long, very Swedish, but I say very Swedish. They're about going to America though, so that's not a true statement. The great late Max von Sydow, he passed away just today actually, so very fitting for me to talk about this. And Liv Ullmann as well. So 2 of the greatest Swedish actors ever to live in these films. So you're getting 2 films for the price of 1. This is one that you need to own. That about wraps it up for this sale video about my pickups and my recommendations. I mentioned that there was one that I didn't have in this sale. That one is Wes Anderson's Moonrise Kingdom, a film that I've seen a number of times, but I've just not picked it up yet. It's not one that I felt like I needed to get immediately, so I've kind of left it, but I definitely will get it at a future date. Do let me know in the comments below if you've been picking up any films in this particular sale, and if you like any of these films. You know, let me know if any of these are your favourites, because I love hearing about your favourites. It really does make my day hearing you talk about these films and how much you love them. So yeah, please do let me know. Okay, that's been another video from me talking about some of my favourite Criterion titles that you can pick up on discount. If you like this video, let me know, and I'll see you again very soon.